Very good afternoon to you and welcome to the latest in our series of live webinars brought to you by the HOP platform. So HOP stands for Hertfordshire Opportunities Portal. It is a website and a resource that we hope every young person and schools and colleges across Hertfordshire are aware of and use, because it's a host of careers information that will help you with those really important decisions that you make, both when at school, at college, and subsequently as well. I'll tell you more about HOP as we go on. But the purpose of these webinars is to give you the opportunity to hear directly from some experts and professionals within a particular field. This week, we are going to be focusing on careers in accountancy. I've got 4 fabulous panelists lined up to share with you their experiences very shortly. Do use this opportunity. If you're watching this live, which is Thursday afternoon, whilst you're watching this, you can interact with us. And the way that you do that, because we can't see or hear any of you, but you can submit your own questions. So on the dashboard that you'll see there's a questions tab on there. If you open that out, you'll see a text box. You can type your question in that text box. It will come through. It'll only be visible to me, and then I can direct that question to one of or all of the panelists that we've got here. But they are very much here to help you and to inspire you today and to let you know more about the fabulous world of accountancy as a future career. So without any further ado, I'm going to ask each of them in turn to introduce themselves, and then we will get going. So in no particular order, well, I say no particular order, the order that you appear on my screen right now, I'm going to ask you all to say hello. So could I ask, first of all, Alex, to introduce yourself to everyone?
Hello everyone, I'm a first year apprentice at KPMG. I started in October 2023. Before joining KPMG, I was actually at university for 2 years, studying physics before I decided to withdraw and apply for apprenticeship instead.
Sure, thank you very much, Alex. Next we have Abigail, not to be confused with Abby. So Abigail, good afternoon, thank you for joining us.
Hi everyone, I'm Abigail. So I also work at KPMG. I'm a first year apprentice and I also started in October 2023. I also went to uni for a year before I joined. I withdrew and applied for apprenticeship, and here I am now.
Okay, and we're delighted that you're with us this afternoon, Abigail. Thank you. Moving on now to Abby. Abby, good afternoon.
Hi, I work for HB Accountants and I've been an apprentice ever since I started 6 years ago. So I did my AAT and then I'm now onto my chartered.
Okay, and Abby, I mean, just for a little bit more local context, because both Alex and Abigail have got, well, I'm going to call them regional accents, but we're delighted they're joining us on the Hertfordshire Opportunities Portal website today. But Abby, you are born and bred in Hertfordshire. Tell us where you went to school and tell us where HB Accountants are as well.
Yes, so HB is actually located in Hoddesdon, so we're right by Bright House Station, so it's quite local. And then I went to secondary school in Ware, so it's literally like 10 minutes down the road.
Sure. Okay, so you've stayed local and you're working for what we call as an SME, so a small business. Alex and Abigail very much work for KPMG, which is a large organisation. We'll discuss perhaps the pros and cons of working for a larger or small organisation. And also delighted that Kerry has joined us today. So Kerry, thanks for joining us. Tell us everyone a little bit about you.
Hello everybody, I'm Kerry Borman. I work at Oaklands College, which is based in Welwyn Garden City and St Albans, and I'm head of business here, and we offer lots of courses that can get you into accounting and or finance.
Sure, thank you very much to all of my panelists for introducing yourself. So over the next hour or so, and I will say this session is being recorded, so if for whatever reason you can't stay with us all the way through, it will be available to watch back, and it will go on our YouTube channel where all the previous, I think there's 97 of these webinars we've recorded over the last 3 or 4 years, so there is something on there for everyone, but this one will be available to watch back tomorrow. Perhaps you want to share this with a family member or a friend who also might be interested in accountancy, so do spread the word. But the things that we're going to go through today, we're going to talk about, well, what actually is an accountant? What sort of things do you do? What are the different branches of accountancy? How do you choose which specialism you like? We're going to think about the pathways into it. So quite a diverse range of different pathways available to become an accountant. A couple of the guys have already talked about starting on a degree course, then going on to an apprenticeship. Kerry will be able to talk to you about the fabulous courses that are available not only at Oaklands College, but also at the other further education colleges that we have. You know, whether you need to have a degree, whether you should have an apprenticeship, we can talk about them. We'll also think about the sorts of skills and qualities that are needed. I think sometimes we can get we can get hung up on the qualifications you need without actually thinking about what sort of person it is that an accountant firm would like to employ. So I'm going to come around the three of you who are practicing accountants or training accountants at the moment, starting with Abby. So Abby, when did you know that you wanted to become an accountant?
I think I was a little bit later, in the sense that I first thought I was going down like primary school teacher route, and it was only sort of midway through sixth form I kind of decided that actually wasn't for me. And I think that's totally okay if you don't fully know and it takes a little bit longer, like that's fine. And I think accountancy, I didn't have anything for sort of related to business or economics. I'd done maths, further maths and geography at A level. So when I was going into it, I was a little bit concerned to start with that I didn't have that background, but you kind of pick up on it. And I think that's the good side of the study. You do pick up on that sort of thing. So the terminology and stuff, you pick up a lot quicker than you expect to.
Okay, all right. Well, look, we'll delve into that as we go through. But I mean, Alex, same question to you. When did you realise that accountancy was going to be your calling?
So I always enjoyed mathematics at school. So I knew I wanted to go into a job based in that. And at university, I actually attended quite a lot of insight sessions into banking and finance, and accounting's the one that stood out to me the most. And I've loved my apprenticeship ever since.
Sure. Okay. All right. So much like Abby, perhaps you didn't feel it was always your destiny. But Abigail, what about you? What was your hook into accountancy?
I think I was a bit different because I always knew that a career in finance was something that I wanted to do. I always loved maths at school, so I had chose that at A level. But before then, doing my GCSEs, I was doing economics as well because it was an insight into finance and just how the economical market worked. And just doing both of them, it was just accounting was the way that I wanted to go. But we didn't have an accounting course or anything like that at my school. So I chose business at A level, and we had an accounting module in there, and that kind of solidified my decision that that was definitely the career choice that I wanted. And I think it was ever since GCSE, it's just always, I've always knew I wanted to go into finance.
Okay, I mean, Kerry, let me ask you the question. I guess on behalf of your students that enrol onto your programs at Oaklands, do they all want to be accountants, or are there perhaps different things that they're considering at that point?
So lots of them do want to become accountants. Probably about, I would say, probably about a fifth of all our learners in the business department do want to become accountants. And then we help them to obviously achieve the qualifications that they need first. So you need to get your level 3 qualifications before you then move to university if you so wish, or some of them go on to get apprenticeships afterwards after they've got their level 3 qualifications with us.
Sure. Okay. Let me go back to Abigail, and I want you to tell us really, what does an average day look like for you? So, I mean, if you weren't joining us on this webinar this afternoon, what would sort of the average Thursday look like for you?
Well, no Thursday is the same because every work week I have is different. Because I specialise in audit, so every day there's a different section of the audit that we have to complete, and it'll never just be in the normal Newcastle office. We can go to client site and work with them, just a face-to-face instead of over Teams. But we also participate in stock takes as well, where we actually go to the businesses that we're auditing and ensure that they are counting their stock right and everything is what they say it is and where they say it is. So it varies every single day, really.
Sure. And I mean, Alex, just talk me through, what does audit actually mean in layman's terms?
So what we're checking as auditors is whether the financial statements present a fair view of the company's performance. So it involves looking at a lot of numbers, making sure they calculate and tie up correctly.
Sure. And I mean, ultimately, you're working for the client, aren't you? So you're there to help them as opposed to trying to trick them or to uncover anything that maybe shouldn't be there.
Yeah, so we spend a lot of time working alongside the finance teams um, at the client site, asking them for evidence on different things, just to make sure that the business is operating as stated.
Sure. So Alex, like Abigail, you specialise in audit. Abby, same question to you. I mean, you obviously work for a much smaller organisation based locally in Hoddesdon. I think you're also involved in audit as well, but because you work for a smaller company, do you get involved in other areas as well?
Yeah, so our office is only sort of 15 people. So even though I am primarily audit, I do accounts. Sometimes I'll be like preparing figures for tax returns. It does sort of mix it up a little bit more. And I think that's because you just kind of help out where you need it at the time. Sort of our tax department's only 2 people, our payroll's only 1 person. So you have to jump in and out where you need it. And I think I kind of prefer that because we do the same. We go out to clients and we do audits, but sometimes I'll just be sat in the office and I kind of, the way I describe it is like number forensics, because sometimes you just get handed a bunch of receipts and you literally sit and you sort of analyze them all out, make sure that it is business expenses and not sometimes personal stuff. So it's a bit more sort of like hands-on, I think, accounts rather than the audit, because you're making what they're checking.
Yeah, and Abby, do you personally have a caseload or are you just part of a team?
So it kind of, depending on what you're doing, it sort of is how it's split up. So within the kind of audit team, we tend to all work together. There are sometimes sort of, primarily for us, it's kind of like June to September, we have a lot more audits coming through. So you tend to split up then, but the majority of the time we work as a team. Whereas for our sort of tax returns and VAT returns, things like that, you have allocated clients, so you get to build up the relationship with them a little bit more and get to know their business.
Sure. Alex, so what about for you working for a larger company? And we should say that KPMG, you're in I think the London office. Yeah, of which Abigail's up in the Newcastle office. Locally, there's another office in Watford. But do you have a caseload yourself? Are you part of a team that has a caseload? How does it actually work in terms of your clients?
So I joined a team auditing the accounts of a FTSE 10 company. But as a first year apprentice, my focus is on building up my terminology and knowledge and skills. So I spend a lot of time doing more of a supportive role, watching the managers in my team, how they audit, learning from them, asking them questions.
Okay. And then Abigail, how does it work for you? Is each office within KPMG fairly similar?
I think because our Newcastle office is a lot smaller than any of the London offices, I get given certain areas of the audit to do myself, and I'll have examples from last year, and there'll be loads of my team there available, asked for help and taught me through it. But it's a lot of work I just do myself and learn as I go. So again, I am mainly focusing on building up the terminology, but I'm also doing the processes myself.
Sure. Okay. And then Abigail, let me stay with you. Are there any areas of the job that you perhaps really, really enjoy and others that aren't so good? Or for example, would you prefer to have a client who Alex described would be perhaps a major FTSE company compared to a private individual? Anything that's sort of good or bad that you have to deal with on a day-to-day basis?
Well, that's a tough one. I think there's just certain parts of the work that can get a bit boring because it's the same repetitive procedure. But it's not a lot. I think it's just personal preference on what you find interesting and not, because there are some parts of the audit where I particularly don't like doing, but someone else on my team will love, and I think it's just finding that personal preference really.
Yeah, okay. And then, I mean, Alex, same question for you. Are there bits of the role that are more interesting or bits that you really look forward to and other bits that perhaps aren't?
So a task I had recently that I really enjoyed, I had to verify numbers in the disclosure note. So these are tables of numbers that appear in the financial statements. So I was given my client's like internal report, and I had to make sure that the numbers calculate correctly. So that was pretty interesting because that's figures that actually get published and appear in a report
Mhm.
for the public.
Okay. And then do you also get involved in preparing and actually writing the report? So I think we always think of accountancy around numbers, but is there certainly a bit around literacy and writing skills?
So we wouldn't help prepare the reports. The finance team in the client's department, they actually write up the report. We just verify that information's correct, check for spelling mistakes, and so on.
Sure. Okay. Abby, I think it was you that mentioned it earlier, but are there peaks and troughs throughout the year? I mean, obviously tax end is what, the 5th of April every year. So are there times of the year where you know that the next few weeks are going to be a bit of a slog, there are going to be some long hours, and other parts slightly more relaxed in the year?
Yeah, I think definitely it depends, obviously, when your sort of client deadlines are. So sometimes we can get an audit that we have to turn around in 2 weeks. So you know those 2 weeks are going to be longer hours. They're going to be really get your head down, like not minimal chatting, because obviously you're all sort of working together anyway, but you know you've got to focus more. Whereas this week in particular is quite a sort of, we're waiting for stuff to come in. And I think as a smaller business, you do get those kind of lulls probably a little bit more. Just from when I've been talking to people at college and things like that, they're sort of like back-to-back big audits because they're at bigger firms. But we kind of throw it around a little bit between ourselves. So we do obviously help each other out. And I think Abigail touched on it a little bit, like sometimes there are sort of the mundane jobs and they're not the most interesting. So I know the guys that I work with, they're not the biggest fan of the testing. So the testing's kind of the profit and loss side. And then we tend to split it. So you'll test the profit and loss and then you go back to do the balance sheet. And some days you will literally sit there and check invoices and make sure they add up correctly and tick off information and check that if they buy wine in, that's what they've actually purchased. Whereas other days it can be really sort of nitty gritty, digging into accounts, trying to work out if there's been payments, if they've allocated their loans correctly. So it does kind of vary on sort of interest levels.
Sure. Okay. Kerry, let me come to you because we'll talk in more depth about T levels a little bit later. But obviously, some of your students, whether they're on T levels or not, will actually go out into industry and they'll be gaining that work experience. Have you got any sense of what tasks they tend to enjoy more, or perhaps what bits they don't perhaps understand are going to be a part of the job?
Work experience is a really, really important aspect of any of the business courses, and it's mandatory for any of our courses. So all of our learners will go out to do work experience. They haven't really given, I'll be honest, Gareth, they haven't really given me feedback of the stuff that they haven't enjoyed when they've gone out to accountancy firms. The ones that have gone out to accountancy firms have really enjoyed their experience. And they take on a variety of roles. Obviously, it's work experience, so then they're not getting involved as much in the nitty gritty, and it might be some sort of administration tasks. But in some of the places that they've been to, they've managed to sit down with in smaller firms with the directors of the company and talk to them about, and they might just get half an hour with them. But that's really insightful for them to see actually where they can progress as well. So you could go on and have your own business eventually if you're a qualified accountant, and then have your own small business eventually. So there's lots of different ways that you can also progress, and that's been a really insightful experience for them when they've gone out to these smaller accountancy firms and larger ones to see how far you can go with it. It's not just you start as a payroll clerk or an accountant and then that's where you stop. It doesn't have to be that you can also progress and move on.
Sure. Kerry, let me stay with you because you'll be able to provide the most neutral answer here. Do you think your students, do they envisage going to work for a large company like KPMG, or do they consider that there would be a local high street accountant like HB that they could work for? And could you kind of summarize what the pros and cons might be one way or the other? Then I'll ask the others to substantiate on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's very, very mixed. It depends on the type of student and the personality of the student. We've got some learners who would like to go and work for a big organisation, and some that want to stay local and work for a smaller organisation. So if they want to work for a bigger organisation, really the drawbacks of that is you have to go where the bigger organisations are in terms of their main offices. So a lot of the time that's in London, or I know we've got KPMG in Watford, but generally you're going to have to travel a bit further if you really, really want to work in a larger organisation. the benefits of a larger organisation is they're so big, so that there may be more different variation of roles that you could get into, and different sort of layers of roles for them. The real positive of a smaller organisation is sometimes you get more of a family feel or community within a smaller organisation, and especially with learners who might struggle a bit with confidence, they might prefer to go into a smaller firm. But that's not saying that that people in a larger firm would stay in a larger firm and then not want to go to a smaller firm, and vice versa. It just depends, where the jobs are, and also they're very interested in money. That is quite a lot of the time what drives them. More than the size of the firm, the salary they're offering for the apprenticeship is quite often a driver in where they want to go as well.
Yeah, okay, well, look, let me bring Abigail in. So you do work for a large firm, you work for KPMG, albeit you've said that the office in Newcastle maybe isn't as big as the one in London that Alex works at. But what do you enjoy about working for a large company? What are the sort of real benefits that you've found so far?
I think it's the opportunities that it provides you with, because there's loads of, although I'm like an audit apprentice, there's loads of other things that you're able to get involved in as well. Like, for example, we have a student recruitment team, so I get to go out and give back to like the schools, talk to them about apprenticeships and give back what I didn't have. So that's an opportunity that I don't feel like if I was at a smaller firm where the time's needed more because there's less people, I wouldn't be able to do stuff like that. But I also think it really helps with your networking, because you don't just stick at one office. I've been to the Leeds and the Manchester office, and you just making networks with all these other apprentices that you can lean on and get advice from. So there's more people there to help you and in your same situation to share the feelings like you're new to this and you don't exactly know what's going on. So it's like you're not stuck alone in that feeling.
Sure. And then Abby, I mean, same question for you then. Still working for an SME, a small business, what have you really enjoyed about your time at HB Accountants that perhaps you wouldn't have got were you working for a large company?
I think Kerry mentioned it, like I'm definitely sort of a local girl. Like I like the short journey, like my commute's literally 12 minutes, which is delightful. So I think working for the SME, you do get that opportunity to sort of stay closer. But actually, because there's only 15 of us, like we all know each other, we all kind of like, it is that sort of little family vibe, and you have like the crazy office aunt and like silly things like that. But it makes your day nicer when you've got those sort of days that are a bit more repetitive and they're maybe not as interesting. You can catch up with people, and you sort of, we do the one of the things behind me, it's that side, is we all go out on a team outing in the summer. So it's everyone from the office and you're all kind of close and you do a funny activity. So this one we did graffiti. It's just nice to have that close relationship with everyone, and you can call on them if you need something, whether it's study or otherwise. Like I know the guys help each other with their study, and Callum's at my level, so we help each other as well. So I think it's that sort of close relationship bit that you get.
Sure. Okay. I think we've probably described between all of you there the pros and cons of each. I've had a question that's just been submitted, so thank you for submitting that question. It's a really good segue actually into the next set of questions I was going to ask. And the question is, what grades do you need to go into accountancy? So I'm just going to go around the room first of all and just ask you to tell us which subjects you did, whether you did A-levels and your journey in. So Alex, let me start with you. Talk us through your post GCSE pathway.
So at sixth form, I studied maths, physics, chemistry, and further maths. I achieved A star, AA, which is like above the minimum required for KPMG. I think it's AAB is the minimum for KPMG. All the information's on the careers website. And following that, I went and studied physics at university for 2 years.
Okay, so but as we discussed earlier, that wasn't necessarily that point with a view to going into accountancy. Okay, I'm going to come back to you in a second. Abigail, talk us through your post GCSE choices.
I stayed on at my secondary school and just joined their sixth form, and I did BTEC business and maths, and I got distinction star, C. Our entry requirements aren't based on like grades themselves, they're based on UCAS points. So if you exceed in one subject but don't particularly hit a grade mark in the next, it's just all added together. So it's a bit more flexible. And then I did also do a year of uni doing accounting and finance, so that led on quite nicely into my apprenticeship.
For sure. Okay, and then Abby, same question for you.
So I did maths, further maths and geography at A level, and then came straight to HB, so I didn't do any uni or anything. I got AAB, and I think it's probably more smaller firms. I think we're a little bit, I mean, I didn't interview for any of the big ones, if I'm honest, but I think we're a little bit more flexible with certain things. Like we have everyone come in for an interview, sort of we're looking for someone at the minute to sort of start AAT, and everyone comes in, does an aptitude, and I think we know some people don't necessarily, like some people don't perform great in exams, so we kind of try and take that into account a little bit. Like if you do really well in your aptitude but maybe your grades might be slightly lower, but you came in and you're really personable and you're quite sort of confident and assuring, then you probably got more chance necessarily than someone who's got A star, A star, A, but came in and was really timid and wasn't really sure what they wanted to do.
Okay, so interesting. So I think what we've uncovered there is that you don't need an accountancy or related degree to then get a job or an apprenticeship at an accountancy firm, whether you're working for a large or a small one. I mean, all three of you then have done sort of maths or science related subjects. So let me go over to Kerry now, because I don't think many people, particularly when they're in year 10 and 11, realise, particularly in Hertfordshire, we've got 4 fabulous further education colleges and the range of courses you offer. So it's over to you, Kerry, to talk through some of the courses that are available at Oaklands College.
Yeah, so sixth form isn't the only route into accounting. College is another option. And what you can do at college is either A levels or a BTEC or a T level. So currently our offering is for the BTEC, you can do BTEC business, and then we've got BTEC business and finance, which is where we specialise with finance and accountancy type units within that for you to study, so that you then be able to progress onto an apprenticeship or go to university afterwards. It's the equivalent of BTEC, is the equivalent of 3 A levels. The extended diploma that we offer is the equivalent of 3 A levels. And as Abigail was saying, she got D star in her BTEC, which is amazing, Abigail. But you don't necessarily need to get such high grades. So I know Abby, Alex and Abigail got fantastic grades, but you don't need to have exceptional grades to get into accountancy. Particularly, you know, I echo what Abby was saying. Sometimes it's how you come across at the interview and the interview process as well. I'm not saying that you don't need to get grades and get a level 3 qualification, because you do. Employers like a level 3 qualification. You will need GCSE English and Maths. Our learners that come to us without GCSE Maths and don't achieve it in the duration that they're here or at other colleges, it's much harder to get an apprenticeship or to go on to university without GCSE English and Maths. So that's the first step. If you're in year 10 and 11, the first step is GCSE English and Maths at grade 4 or above. That's really what you need to be aiming for to be able to get an apprenticeship or go to university or come to do a level 3 at college. You could start on a level 2 if you don't get your English and Maths, and then you could retake English and Maths at college and hopefully achieve it. So it's not the end if you don't get that in year 11, because you can have another go in year 12 or year 13 within college. You've then got the option of your level 3 qualification. So you can come straight from year 11 if you've got English and Maths and 3 other GCSEs at grade 4 or above, and do a BTEC. So our BTEC in business and finance, we'd look for a 5 in Maths, grade 5 at GCSE in Maths. And then you can do your BTEC, which, as I said, is the equivalent of 3 A levels, and then you can go on to do an apprenticeship or go to university. And we've had students that do both. I'll give an example of a student that I had at Welwyn Garden City 2 years ago. Nathan, he got MMM in his BTEC, which is the equivalent of CCC at A level, and he's in a local accountancy firm in Welwyn Garden City. He got an apprenticeship straight from college when he was 18. He'd finished his level 3, went into his apprenticeship there, and is doing his AAT qualifications at Oaklands College. Still, I bumped into him the other day. So there's lots of different routes. It's not just sort of university. I know we talked about apprenticeship, but there's the T level, A levels, or BTEC. At the moment, BTEC is still running. BTEC won't be running in 2026, but it's still there at the moment. The T level is a new and exciting qualification, and we are offering either a T level in business or a T level in accounting. And if you know 100% that accounting is what you want to go into, I would advise, a T level accounting is a good route to take. If you think you might want to go into accounting, but you're not sure, you might want to change your mind, potentially the T level in business would be the first step, because if you can still get into accounting, as we've seen with Abigail. She did a generic business for two of her A-level equivalents and got into accounting. So you could do a general business T level in business or BTEC in business and still be able to get the entry grades to then progress to university or an apprenticeship. The T level is exciting because actually we work with employers. So if you signed up to a T level either here or any of the other local colleges local to you and did a T level in accounting, your college will find you an industry placement. So we source you an industry placement, and for over 300 hours for the 2 years of the course, you work with the employer. So you're in an employer setting. So it's not work experience as such, it's an industry placement. So it's very much hands-on. You won't be making the tea, you won't be doing the filing, you'll be actually hands-on and doing an accounting type role. And we also have Sage software, so we have accounting software that you get taught as well on the T level, which is obviously different to sixth form. On A levels, it's not it wouldn't be a full course based on accounting, but if you did a T level in accounting, that's very much what it is. So if you know 100% that's what you want to do, then T level is a great option for you in accounting. If you're not sure, it would be A levels, BTEC or a T level.
Thank you. I will provide, there's a QR code I'll share with you all before we wrap up today. That'll take you straight through to Oakland's page, so you can have a look and read up more about T levels. Abigail, let me come to you first of all. Now, as we discussed earlier, T levels weren't an option for you when you were at school. I mean, listening to what Kerry said there, and I know that's probably quite a bit to digest. If you were going back, if you were in, I don't know, perhaps year 11 now, and you were deciding what you want to do, would you have done something slightly different? What route might you take now?
I think I really enjoyed my business course because it did have an accounting module in, but it also had other aspects of business that I wouldn't have got if I did an accounting course. I think I would have done the T level in accounting just because I was 100% certain that was what I wanted to do in the future. But if I was a bit unsure, I still would have went with my BTEC business, just because it has the accounting and other aspects of business in as well.
Sure. I mean, Alex, same question to you. If we were to take you back to your sort of year 11, what decisions do you think you might make now? Oh, I think you've put yourself on mute, Alex. I can see you pressed the button.
Sorry about that. What I was saying was I would do the same A levels because I really enjoyed my A levels, but I would have opted to go to apprenticeships earlier rather than going to university first.
Sure. Okay. And then Abby, same question for you.
So we actually had a T level placement come and work in our office. So he was here for 45 days. And I think if I had the option, I definitely would have taken it, I think, because he got so much experience, which I didn't have. And I think that was one of the things I was more worried about, because you get to learn the different systems, you pick up the information, you kind of get that head start before you get here. So sort of the first 2-3 weeks, you just kind of pick up on stuff. Whereas if you've already done those weeks, you know a basic bit of it. And I think that would definitely help. So I think I would probably go down a T level route if I could do it again. Sure.
Kerry, it sounds like you've sold T levels. They're obviously really, really popular. And I think, Abigail, you summarised that really well, that if you knew that was the career you definitely wanted to go into, doing that T level, which is going to take up the entirety of your sixth form study effectively, that's probably a really, really good route. And you get the industry experience, which Abby, I guess, has seen secondhand. But as Alex, as you were saying there, you had lots of different interests, and being able to diversify your subject area was probably beneficial to you. Kerry, let me just go back to you so you can just fly the flag for colleges again. What is it that colleges can offer, sort of more broadly than just the T levels, that maybe a school sixth form couldn't offer?
So colleges are different to sixth form in the respect that you have more independence. There's more independent study. There's more on the learner that comes to us. There is an expectation that they do a lot of work at home. So our T-level students are timetabled in for 18 hours a week, but they'll have lots of formative assignments, so assessments to complete within the classroom that then they bring in, and we might do more sort of peer assessed learning, which is assessed by also your classmates, and they can rate you in terms of your soft skills and your professional skills. So they're really, really important. And in colleges, we focus very much on the vocational sort of your career, where you're going to next, your next step. And we have industry boards where we get employers in, and we've met with lots of accountancy firms, local accountancy firms, who've told us exactly what it is they need within the workplace that they might find that they're struggling to get. And we work with them to make sure that our learners are equipped with those skills when they go out to the workplace. So nationally, businesses are finding that they've got a lack of skills in certain areas, and we hear things like communication, problem solving, teamwork, leadership, all of these really important skills. We hear from employers that they require desperately, and that's not necessarily coming from somebody with an excellent academic profile all the time. You know, people have different skills in different areas. If someone hasn't got 3 A stars at A level, doesn't mean that they haven't got excellent communication skills and teamwork skills. And, you know, it's those things that we also focus on, as well as the academic side. It's really important to get your academic qualification. But equally as important is developing those other skills, which are really important in the workplace. So we like to be able to set our learners up to be able to then go to the workplace and have an interview, and they might do presentations and be assessed on presentations. They're just assessed in different ways, and we try and build those skills. We have an hour a week in tutorial where we just focus on these skills, so that when they do go to university or apprenticeships or employers, you know, they really are set up to be the full package for employers, so that not only have they got an academic qualification, but they've also developed these professional skills and behaviours as well. And we get the employers in to do assessments. We've had Barclays in to assess this year. BMW have come in and do assessments. All the learners have gone out to one of the BMW offices and spoken to their finance teams and their marketing teams. We work with a lot with businesses and employers, because it's really important because, you know, at 16, it's hard to know what the big wide world is like after education. So we try and, you know, give you lots of information to be able to provide you to make really informed decisions as to what your next steps are after college, after, you know, year 12, year 13, where you go next, and employers really help us to do that.
Sure, I think that's a really, really good point there. And I think what you're saying is that the colleges do tend to be a little bit closer to industry and to business in terms of understanding the needs. And I imagine that's probably reflected in some of your tutors and some of your colleagues' own personal experiences. They've probably worked in industry, haven't they? They've probably worked as accountants.
Our T-level tutor is a qualified accountant. He teaches AAT, and he's going to be teaching the T-level accounting. So he's a qualified accountant. That's what we do in terms of all of the business tutors. They will teach on what they've had careers in generally.
Yeah, okay. Alex, it's a good point actually that Kerry raises there, thinking about the sort of qualities and skills and personal attributes that someone who's an accountant is. I mean, thinking about you and perhaps the team that you work in, what are those common skills and qualities that you need in abundance to be a good accountant?
Definitely problem-solving skills, because a lot of work comes up where the answer isn't obvious, and you might have to butt heads together with your team to try and figure out an approach. Communication, definitely. I've spent a lot of time sending emails to clients and other team members. And the final skill I think you need abundance of is teamwork and skills, because you spend most of your time surrounded by other team members, so you need to be able to work with them.
Sure, okay, now that's clearly important. Abby, it's probably unfair me asking you this, because you said you did maths and further maths at A level, but the question I wanted to ask is that I think there's always an assumption that to be an accountant or to work in finance, you've got to have really high technical math skills, which I suspect you probably do, but how much of a weighting is put on that technical mathematical skills compared to some of those softer skills that Alex and Kerry have just spoken about?
I think, to be honest, probably like 50 years ago, it was probably way more important than it is now. I'm constantly on a computer. If I need to do any sort of maths, realistically, it's on Excel. So if I need to add something up, it does it for me. If I need to do anything sort of, I don't really use mental maths. I do it a little bit to check things are sort of, they look okay. But realistically, so much of it is on systems now. So if you're not like really technically maths minded, it's not necessarily a you can't do this. You need the sort of persistence and the patience and sort of the problem solving skills. If you've got logic, you're probably quite good at accounting because it is quite methodical. So I think that would probably help as well.
Okay. Abigail, we had a question in the registration. I'm not sure whether that person is actually live with us at the moment, but they asked, should they do a level 3 AAT over a gap year? Can you just tell us, what does AAT mean? What are the equivalents? And is that something that everyone needs to have to practice accountancy?
So your level 3 AAT is equivalent to your standard A levels. If you're going into the apprenticeship route like one with KPMG, you don't need any form of background in it because you sit your level 3 AAT and onwards. So I think it really depends on where you're looking at going, because if it is with one of the bigger firms such as ourselves, we take everyone as they don't know anything and we start you off from the very start of like accountancy. So it does just depend where you want to go. I think it would help if you had a bit of background in there. It would ease the revision in the studies and the exams at first, but it's not an essential thing.
Okay. What are the other qualifications, Kerry, that professional qualifications that an accountant might go through?
So you can get a degree afterwards, so that our learners go on and study accounting at university. So some of them, many of them are successful in securing apprenticeships, but some apprenticeships are really difficult to secure. We had a learner that got an apprenticeship recently at Tesla, but there were 750 applicants for that one job. So with apprenticeships, they are in high demand, and lots of people want them, and there's less apprenticeship vacancies than there are people applying for vacancies. So often that you might have graduate vacancies, so then our learners might go on to university. So if they, and some want to go to university, some that's their first choice. They want to get to university, they want to go to university, get a degree, and then get a graduate job. So yeah, it's either apprenticeships or then university post level 3 after the level 3 qualification.
Okay, right, good. I've had an absolute belter of a question that's come in, and it's a really good segue actually into what we're going to talk next, which is the prospects for accountancy and the need for it. So this is one of the best questions I've ever had submitted. There's a real good thought gone into this one. So the question is, and who am I going to ask this one to? I'm going to go to Abby first on this one, but I'm interested to get all of your takes on this one. Will accountancy become an oversaturated career in the future, or will there always be room for accountants? What do you think, Abby?
I think there always will be sort of room for an accountancy. I think as much as we do use systems, we still do the sort of like paper files. We don't have everything online. So you still need that person to do the analysis. There are sort of very complicated and very fancy systems that can analyze stuff for you. But as a little firm, we don't tend to use those. Even with them, you still have to put the work in before to give that system the data it needs. So I think there'll always be sort of a form of accountancy, whether it's using more systems and doing less hands-on stuff, or whether it is sort of very hands-on.
Sure. Okay. All right. Good answer. Alex, are there vacancies at KPMG in your office at the moment? Is there demand for more people?
I think that there is demand for more people. We're taking on more apprentices and more graduates every year. Teams are getting bigger. That's because the government releases policies every year, and our regulators release new standards every year. So the amount of work required in an audit grows and grows every year. So teams need to get bigger.
Good. Okay. Well, that's reassuring. Abigail, anything that you can add to that?
I think although technology is getting better and more things can be done online and just from a screen, there's always going to need to be someone checking that to make sure it's right, because you can't have 100% trust in what like AI can tell you. So I think although technology is improving, it's still being embraced by us and we're still needed to make sure that it's right. I don't think it'll ever fully replace accountants.
Yeah, good. Okay, Kerry, let me come to you. Are you seeing more numbers, people applying to come onto the course? And what do you see about the exit routes and the possibilities and options that exist?
No, we're not seeing an increase. It's quite steady, really. It's been the same. I've been worked here for 5 years, and it's been about the same every year in terms of the applicants that want to do finance and accounting. It is very popular. The exit routes is still there hasn't been, since the emergence of AI. We haven't seen fewer accountancy jobs, and we haven't seen fewer university places. They're still there. There's still demand for apprentices and obviously graduates in accountancy. So the emergence of AI hasn't impacted yet. We're not seeing the impact of that yet. So it's not something that we've, and it's never going to have an impact in the future. I'm sure it will. AI is changing everything, isn't it? So but currently, yeah, applicants the same and opportunities the same.
Yeah, so your students, in terms of their exit destinations, there's still plenty of opportunities available for them. Yeah,
absolutely. Entry-level jobs as well, and finance and accounting in Hertfordshire is huge. It's really, really big. It's one of the biggest. So we have to do quite a lot of work when we're designing our courses to make sure that there's the jobs for the courses after the learners finish with us. We do a lot of background work on that, and finance, accounting, and payroll and bookkeeping. They're certainly one of the biggest employers in the county. So, and obviously London and the South East generally.
Yeah, Abigail, just to come back to you, because you spoke about the sort of that human touch of actually going out and visiting clients. I guess that's something that AI just can't replace. It's one thing counting numbers or counting receipts, but actually to go out and have that personal touch, that's something that's clearly very, very important, and that's something that clients, I'm sure, really enjoy.
Yeah, I don't think that can ever be replaced, because you're sitting there and the clients are gaining trust, and they can see who's actually performing that audit and see that we are working for them, and we want the best for their financial statements to make sure that everything is going smoothly. And I don't think they would gain the same experience from it being from AI or computers. It's that extra step towards building a better relationship with the clients.
Yeah, of course. Okay, just thinking about next steps now. All three of you are still on your apprenticeship, so you're still trainees in your very early days of it. But Alex, thinking into the future, where do you see your career? Do you see yourself staying with an accountancy firm? Do you see yourself going in and sort of practicing accounts and finance, but for a different company in a different industry? What are the options that are available to you?
So I see myself staying at KPMG. Being a global firm, there are opportunities to work abroad. So as soon as I finish my apprenticeship, I'd like to try working in a couple of different countries. And there are other departments that kind of relate to audit. So we have specialists at KPMG, like accounting specialists, tax specialists. So maybe I'd like to try test out my knowledge in one of those areas.
Okay, Abby, I know Vicky's going to be watching this, so you might have to be careful what you say here, but what does your future hold for you? Or if not for you personally, someone just coming in, working for an SME, what are the different options available to you?
I think obviously I'm definitely going to stay. I'm very much happy in sort of practice rather than industry. But I know other people have, after their apprenticeship, they've done the practice, they've got that experience, and they've gone, actually, I think I'd rather work in an industry, and they've moved to a finance department within a different business, and they've thrived in that setting. So I don't think you necessarily, once you get into practice, you don't have to always be in practice. You can switch about if you want to, but I think I'm very much more, I like the different clients and different businesses and being able to pick that up. So I think I'm more settled in practice, definitely.
Sure. Abigail, I'm sure you're going to tell me exactly the same thing, that you're very happy at KPMG and you're going to be there for the rest of your life, because your bosses might be watching as well. But as Abby's just said there, I guess lots of people who start with an accountancy firm like KPMG will then go and take their expertise to go and work for kind of every organisation needs a finance and an accounts department. So what would you see as the benefits of doing that? And is that something that you maybe would consider in the future?
I think the benefits would be you're gaining a bit more, well, working at KPMG in such a big company. You're constantly changing your day to day, and you're not really focusing on one specific area and gaining a massive specialisation in that. Where if you went to like a smaller company and somewhere that does the same type of audit or the same type of accounts, you're gaining so much more experience in that, and that's something that you're specialised in, and you'll be able to do that at perfection. But I don't think I ever would leave, because it's, like I said, my day varies and I'm constantly learning something new, and new procedure, and then facing new clients and being able to see how different businesses work. It's just so much more insightful than I thought the job would be.
Yeah. Kerry, do you think that they automatically assume they're going to go and work for a firm of accounts, whether it's a large company or a small company, or do they often get their first jobs working in a finance department? I'm trying to think. I've got a friend who works in finance for Stansted Airport, for instance.
Yeah, no, it's very varied, and sometimes they change their mind as well. So I think sometimes if people think that they're good at maths, they're good with numbers, accountancy is the way to go, and may not know of the other opportunities. And that's why I was saying, if you're not 100% sure, there's other options in terms of doing the business, because we talk about other careers that, you know, if you are good with numbers, there's quantity surveying as well, that's quite often quite popular with students that do come to us and do want to do accounting. Sometimes they might change their mind, and they can still do that on a level 3 qualification. You've still got time when you're young to do that. But yeah, it's very varied, really.
Sure. I mean, Abby, when you're talking to clients, can you tell if one of your clients, maybe in a finance team, has previously worked for a firm of accountants?
Yeah, I think with the bigger clients, when you go to audits, if they haven't done audit, sometimes they just really don't understand why you want something. Whereas if they have done audit, they get that you do sampling and you're not checking everything. You just pick, say, 10 samples, and that's what you look at. So I think you can tell, but sometimes there is benefits of doing the industry side. If they've always been in industry and they've always worked for that specific business, they have a great knowledge of the system. Whereas someone that maybe has moved over, they don't know the in-depth of it necessarily. So I think you can tell the difference.
Sure. Okay. And is that the more natural way to do it, though? You work for an accounting firm, then go into an industry. Do you get it the other way around, Abigail? Do any of your colleagues have they previously worked in a finance team and then come back to an accountancy firm?
I've personally at my level, no, but further up, I've had quite a lot of people come into the firm who've worked at other areas and smaller firms for accountancy and came in. I think I don't really know. It's just personal preferences where people want to work, but there is that level of flexibility for people to come in from smaller firms.
Sure. Okay. I've got some further reading for you. We're nearly ready to wrap up now. We've gone through this really, really quickly, and there's been some incredibly good questions that have come in during the webinar as well. On your screen at the moment, you can see some QR codes that will link you through to specific websites. So all of the organisations who are represented here today. So Kerry, we've got the Oaklands College QR code there. That would take someone straight through to the business and accounting pages on your website. Just tell us, what would they find on that website? What different courses will they find? And are there any open days coming up as well?
So yeah, you'll find lots of information on the website. We've just had our last open days, but you can always come to visit. If you want to have a look around, then you can contact the college. You'll see the contact email there, and I'm happy to show you around. We've got the different list of courses, the different levels that we offer, and you can apply directly online as well. So there's lots of information for you on there. And if you have any further questions, then the contact centre is there, and you can drop us a line and we'll get back to you.
Sure. Kerry, I know that there are some year 12 students who certainly registered for this today. So someone who finishes sixth form, could they still come to Oaklands or one of the other FE colleges?
Yeah, absolutely. What we do get is learners that may start on A levels because school is what they know, and then potentially finish after the first year because they haven't really got on with A levels. So sometimes we do get learners that come to us that have started sixth form and they've done year 12, but then decided it wasn't for them. So absolutely, if you're in year 12 and you think you might want to go down a different route, you can apply. After year 13 though, it's like you can still apply, but if you've got your qualifications, if you've done A levels, then we've got the foundation degree that you could apply for, which is 2 days a week. So you could do the foundation degree and specialise in finance. It's business management. You could specialise in finance and accounting, and go that route. That's what we offer at level 4 post level 3, post A level, post BTEC.
Sure. Okay. And look, if you don't live close to Oaklands College, so as Kerry said, there's a site in St Albans and in Welling, so perhaps you're over the east of the county, that Hertford Regional College is close to you, or North Herts College or West Herts College. Do go and have a look at their courses. Please have a look at their website, even if you're absolutely adamant that you're going to stay in your school sixth form. And I say this as someone whose stepson was adamant he was going to stay in his school sixth form and is now at college and really enjoying it. Do go and have a look. Just increase your options. Have a look at those. They really are credible options, even if you don't think it is at the moment. On the left hand side of the screen, you've got the QR code through to the ICAEW. I don't know, do you become individual members of that? Any, Abby, Abigail or Alex? Abby, you're nodding your head.
Yeah, so I started with AAT, and then ICAEW is sort of that next step. So I am a member of that because I'm studying my ACA at the minute. But you have your own individual membership, and there's so much information on there about accounting, and they do their own sort of webinars and things, so you can get more information if you're not really sure the details of it.
Sure, so that QR code will take you straight through to the careers page on the ICAEW. We've got the KPMG QR code on there as well. Now, Alex and Abigail, you've both got personal experiences of applying for your positions through the KPMG website. It's a really good site, isn't it? There's lots of really good resources on there, and it's really helpful. What do you remember about your application process, Alex?
So I found, out of all the apprenticeships that I applied to, I think I applied to about 12 or 13. My best experience was with KPMG. The website's really good. It's really easy to navigate. The emails are always clear. And after the final stage interview, they actually got back to me within 2 days, which is the quickest response I received after an interview. So they're really good.
Sure, there you go. Abigail, any memories from you for applying for the position?
I think I was the same as Alex. So I applied to quite a few, and it was, not to be biased, but the best interaction experience I had. It was mainly the communication from them was so clear, and it was exactly what you needed, and they laid out the steps for you really well. So it was like a 5-step procedure for the application process, and they laid it out and told you each step and what would be in each step and how to prepare for everything, which was a bit nice to see that they're trying to help you and get through it instead of just letting you fend for yourself.
Absolutely. And then the other QR code that we've got for HB accountants. So, but I guess particularly if you're over in sort of Hoddesdon, Cheshunt, where Hertford, HB accountants are very close. I think Abby said that there's a position and a vacancy on there that might suit a school or college leaver. But even if you're on the other side of the county, do have a look at their website, because you'll find some really good detail in there about the particular vacancies they've got. And I dare say there will be a high street accountant more local to you that you might find it's beneficial having had a look at that website. Just in closing, Abigail, I'm going to choose you to give the closing statement here. But just in a nutshell, why would you recommend accountancy as a career?
I'd recommend it because it's something that can lead to so many other opportunities. It's not just numbers and spreadsheets. There's so much more you can go into with it. It can lead to so many other career opportunities, and it gives you an insight to loads of different clients and businesses that you wouldn't gain from any other jobs.
Okay, there you go. So in a nutshell, from an accountant, that is why accountancy is a great career. And I hope we've covered so much within the last hour that is going to help you. I'm very conscious that I've got 3 accountants on, and if I tick over beyond an hour, they're probably going to invoice me for the second hour. So we will wrap up at that point. Do familiarise yourself with HOP and the social media platforms that we have. They are on your screen at the moment. The QR code in the top left-hand corner will take you through to the page where we've got all the previous webinars that we've run, a really eclectic mix in there, anything from air traffic control to web design. So have a look at it, tell your family and friends about it. Thank you so much for joining us. For those of you that have submitted questions as well, we hope this has been really informative and inspiring, but most particularly thank you to my 4 panelists, to Abigail, to Alex, to Abby and to Kerry for giving up your time in preparation for and for the delivery of this webinar. Wishing everyone a very pleasant evening.